Hello, everyone. Today we have with us Bill Sebald, founder and managing partner of Greenlane. Bill is a speaker, writer, and a podcast host. Bill, thank you for taking out time and welcome to the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Bill, I already, already have done a brief introduction about you, but it would be great if you could introduce yourself and what you do at Greenlane.
I'm so bad at explaining or talking about myself. All right. Well, I've been doing SEO. I started doing SEO in 1996. My first site was an e-com site, and I always like to make the joke. It was before there was even shopping carts or any kind of catalog managers. We were just taking credit cards over the phone. So that's how early it's been. For me, I got into SEO because I really love the aspect of, it's detective work. It's trying to figure out an algorithm that is supposed to be, uncrackable, but figure out enough to be able to build marketing campaigns around the signals that work. So that fascinated me right away as Google kind of popped in and took over the market share. I mean, there were a lot of search engines out when I started. It was really fun to sort of watch Google grow and then grab onto Google. And now it's like you have one thing you have to sort of keep on working on. So it's always been this cat and mouse game of Google getting bigger, getting smarter, and SEOs trying to keep up. The best SEOs, I knew that flyer was going to get me. The best SEOs, are the ones that really kind of keep up with it all. So I was really proud to be with a great group of SEOs, growing into this, basically creating this industry. And it's just been so much fun. So at some point about 10 years ago, I said, I'm ready to do this full time and own a company, because I was always working for other agencies or clients. So Greenlane came about that way. And here we are. We're 10 years later and we're still in business and doing well.
Right. 1996. And at that time, because, people change a lot of things, in their career and, before they actually know, okay, fine, this is it. I mean, from day one, did you have that feeling that, okay, fine, this is what I'm going to do long term, or you were not sure? Or, how did it happen?
The way that I felt like it was something I could do forever is when I bumped into a group of people and they were calling it SEO. And I went, SEO, search engine optimization. I said, oh, this has a name. All this hacking of the search engine has a name now. So once I felt like there was a real industry and there was a need for, expertise in that. Yeah, that's when I was hooked. In the beginning, I was just, again, hacking search engines. I was doing that in every other way to bring traffic into the website, right? The only thing alive back then was eBay, and eBay was still pretty new. So, so I didn't want to just keep on kind of grinding through eBay. I wanted to figure out a way to bring my own traffic in. That's what I fell in love with.
Right. Who was Bill as a school kid?
Oh, he was a shy kid, probably a dork, way into TV and cartoons and movies and all that. Yeah, I was a big playful kid. I started out, actually, before I did all this, I got into the music world for about 5, 6, 7 years. So I was the kid who wanted to be the rock star. Then the rock star thing got close, but didn't happen. Then I became the businessman.
Okay. And that's basically the connection with you and the podcast you do, Deluxe Edition, right?
Yeah. So Deluxe Edition, it's a new podcast. I started it about 2 years ago. That's funny that you found that. So yeah, it's not SEO related at all. I felt like there's enough SEO podcasts that are doing a better job like yours. So I was like, what else could I do? And Deluxe Edition is really, it's a, I don't even know how to explain it. It's kind of an interview show. We talk to people like Tommy Chong, Tom Skerritt from Top Gun and a million other movies. And we just ask them about, the insides of really movie making. Not so much about like, hey, what was it like to be in that movie? It's what's the business like? Because I'm always fascinated by different businesses.
Okay.
Deluxeedition.show if anybody wants to check it out.
We'll surely, mention the links once we push the interview live.
I couldn't help it. I'm a marketer. I had to do some plugging.
I know. Talking about podcasts, right? Aggregators normally rank higher versus individual players. How do you go about choosing the podcast topics?
Podcast topics on our show is really based more around what we want to do. But when we're doing work with clients and we're really trying to use podcast marketing as a way to grow, there's two ways that I think about it. You can take a look, and this is honestly the way that I do conference talks too. Let me see, because so many topics have been covered. Yeah. Let me see what people are covering. Let me hear how they covered it, and if I think it can be done better, I'm going to take a stab at doing it better. I'm a big believer in the 10x concept. But Google Trends has been something I've used forever. Google Trends is amazing. Google Trends will tell you what kind of keywords are coming up and starting to show some interest. I always like to be a step ahead of that, because for a lot of people who listen to a podcast, when they hear something, they're introduced to it for the first time. I want to be an introducer. I don't want to bring up something that's already 3 years old. I want to try to get there before. So Google Trends is a great tool for stuff like that.
Right. When you're starting off, what is a good strategy in podcasts? Like, how many podcasts and how often?
Oh, I think you get as many as you can there. I mean, I wouldn't recommend wasting your time on a podcast that doesn't look like it has any audience or any chance of getting an audience, because unfortunately, just like all things, there's a lot of spammy podcasts starting to pop up, as I've noticed. But I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you're using podcasting to not only help promote your brand, build a little bit of brand awareness, but, improve your SEO, it's the same as link building. You want to get you basically want to create buzz, and you want Google to see that buzz. I wrote something yesterday on LinkedIn that I was pretty proud of. It's like a lot of us SEOs, we think about like displacing the ocean, well, how do we make the ocean rise? We throw a bunch of seashells in it, and then eventually it rises. We play with a bunch of title tag tweaks and things like that, and eventually it rises. I'm not going to live long enough for the little stuff. So, you got to create a buzz. You got to drop an island right in the middle of the ocean. Google will notice that, and that's when Google says, okay, let's start paying a little bit more attention. So go for it with podcasts. Not only will you get some SEO out of it if these guys link back to you, and as Google grows and gets better and maybe becomes a machine that can actually read these podcasts, hear and translate these podcasts, like who knows? Even some of the smaller ones might turn out to be a big link signal and a big factor for you in the future. So
right.
With any podcast that you think is good.
Right. You have worked with a lot of great brands. Is there any favorite client story which you would like to share with us?
Oh, I have stories. I have many I can't tell.
I just have time for one today.
Yeah, one. All right. There is, my favorite one has been, I can't tell you who they are. Big company, many pages, millions and millions of pages. And they got stuck. They were like, we can't figure out why we aren't getting the traffic. Look, this is what we used to get. We're well known. What happened? Again, I love SEO because it's detective work, and it wasn't like, well, let's just throw some title tags. It was, I love this job. Give me the chance to be a detective. So I sat down with it and I said, all right, what could the problems be? We eventually figured out, I pulled I convinced them to send me server logs, and it was easy to see that Google was looking at this giant web of pages, but it was like a spider web covered in dust and dead bugs. And like, it was just a mess of a web. So when you see the way that Google goes around a website and it's not going to the main pages, it's not going to the pages that are like core hub pages, you could tell Google's having trouble understanding the site. So going in, doing things with internal links, killing some pages that don't need to be alive, optimizing ones that needed to be more visible, doing all this together, putting that plan together in about 2 months, unlocked every issue they had. So they went from millions of visits to like a couple 100,000 back to millions. And it was probably the biggest immediate growth I've ever seen from a website and one, SEO campaign. So that's pretty cool.
Right. 3 trends that you see in enterprise SEO.
Enterprise SEO, 3 trends. I can tell you that the trend of scaling is still the biggest trend. I don't know that I can name 3 trends in enterprise, but there's definitely trends at SEO that I think enterprise would use. My problem with enterprise is it's real tough, right? I came from that e-com world. That's enterprise too. Those sites get complex, news sites, those kind of sites are big and messy. And the problem that I see is a lot of people want to scale. Let's scale this. We got to get as much of this on the web as we can. And they're right. And with, dynamic pages and all the things that we started doing in the 2000s, it's great. You can scale this, but you're also creating a lot of junk. You're just throwing pictures of products out there. You're not explaining them. You're not giving any context. You're not explaining to Google why this even exists. So Google's looking at it and saying, okay, I'll put it in my supplemental and I'll rank it one day, maybe. So I think there's a lot of times where people try to scale and they scale too hard. Like I've had people say to me in big retailers, they're like, "You want me to rewrite all this product copy and have it be original?" Yeah. Oh my God, I'm gonna have to bring in like a fleet of people. I said, "Yeah, go get them."
Yeah.
What do you mean, go get them? No, go get them. SEO is hard. If you want to do it right, go get them. Yeah. So scaling has its place. I think people try to scale too hard and expect Google to pick them as the favorite when they're really just doing robotic things and not doing the customer things. They're not doing the things that Google really wants to be serving you for.
Absolutely. And, when you talk about e-com and scale, one more problem which, we find sometimes, where it's difficult to explain is, okay, fine, we understand there are product pages and, you are creating product catalogs, but, there is still some content that we need. And, there are ways of smartly putting it like content blocks in the bottom and, things like that. But, they're like, they don't want to do that effort of, creating those changes in the pages and creating that content. How can you get that page ranked, just by adding a lot of products and catalogs to the website?
Yeah. When I worked at a big e-commerce platform, the UX team would always say, people don't like words on pages. They want pictures. And we would do eye tracking studies and we would do tests on the SEO team. And we found out that was wrong. People love information on these pages. People will take information on category pages. One that comes to mind, I remember Zappos a few years ago. Like they were creating these great pages full of information about one product or a set of products, a brand. Maybe it was a brand that would make more sense, and it would really go into the value of the product, why this is special, why you want these over some other one. And guess what?
Creating pillar pages. If you have a good product where, you can, for a particular category, even create like a big pillar page around it.
Sure.
Like good content, good infographics, actual value add, like information. There's a chance of that infographic and that pillar page going viral. You generate so many feelings out of it.
Yeah.
To give that juice to the page. But again, it's all about the content. It's just that how you look at it and how smartly, from the user experience point of view, you kind of, put it in the website as well.
Yeah. And you were saying the question about trends. Here's another trend that you just inspired. That's not a good trend. I'm seeing a lot more people in digital marketing positions look at SEO and say, we can't do this task because there's no guaranteed ROI.
Oh.
Don't do SEO if you're in it for guaranteed ROI. This is not a guaranteed ROI channel. Paid search is there for you. But I think that kind of thing, like building out those infographics, you got to take some chances. You got to experiment. Experimenting is SEO. And I want to keep on seeing companies who really foster a healthy SEO sort of environment take on experimenting as part of what they do. Create a test budget, SEO is still the most underfunded digital channel I've ever seen, but pick up that funding a bit, right? Just because the traffic is free doesn't mean you didn't have to fight to get that free traffic. So, and time costs, takes money. So proper budgets, I think, are something I'm not seeing set. But to be honest with you, I haven't ever seen proper budget set for SEO. It's pretty rare when you see the right budget for SEO.
Right. And also, there are so few people who actually can explain it, like properly to the client, where you actually explain it in a way that they understand how much budget is required and what they will get out of it. Not now, but maybe, 1-2 years down the line. In fact, I was working with an agency 6 months back where, they had a good team, they were doing well, but all of their maximum SEO campaigns they were closing were not like, they were not closing the SEO campaign at a value which actually they required. And, I found out that they were having a hard time, explaining it to the client. So, we went on a few calls with them and, if you do it the right way, and then, I think, like you said, right, you also have to see that whether that client is a good fit for SEO or not. If he wants, like you said, quick ROI, just don't do it, do PPC for him, but don't do SEO.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my company, it's not my first agency, but it is going to be my final agency. And we are choosy who we pick. And when I hear people say, this is exactly what I want, I expect this and this, I'm just like, you're not on, you're somebody explained SEO to you. I'll definitely spend my time to try to get it right. But you can tell some people are just like, Nope, not gonna play by the rules. I'm gonna, make it work my way. Yeah,
Right,
I don't think it ever works that way.
right. Bill, talking about experiments, what was the last SEO experiment you did?
I'm doing one now on YouTube, trying to figure out why that algorithm isn't nearly anywhere near as smart as maingoogle.com. Yeah, I'm always tinkering with things, website things, on-page things, link building things. I don't have anything exciting to say I'm doing this now, but I am trying to figure out YouTube. YouTube just doesn't make sense. YouTube is kind of like some of Google's other search engines, their other verticals, where it's like, why is this so dumb when Google has already proven how smart they can be? I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe I'll crack it.
We are doing some tests on YouTube as well, because now with this podcast and these YouTube videos for us as well. So we're doing some tests on video and YouTube as well. So I mean, yeah, I mean, like I'll try sharing, what the team is doing with you as well.
Yeah, I'd love it. I'd love it. I know engagement, just like with some of these social platforms, engagement is everything,
Yeah,
but engagement can be faked. So I'm surprised that they're putting so much weight on engagement, but that's what they want to do. It's their
right,
business.
right. You're talking about ecom, like mainly ecom. Like again, it holds true for general SEO as well. But if we talk about mainly ecom, like you do a site audit initially, when you're starting off and you're doing an SEO, you're starting an SEO campaign. But as per your recommendation, like after the initial audit is done and those things are, kind of taken care of, how often do you, like recommend doing site audits? Because for e-com sites, site audits can be like, very lengthy and, they can take a lot of time. But how often do you normally suggest doing audits after the first one?
Not often. So the way I think about it, right? Well, the way Greenlane approaches it, it's not prescriptive. We're going to figure out it's prescriptive based on once we study you and understand what you need, here's your custom prescription. 99% of the time, we start with a tech audit. And that's because when you get everything done with a tech audit and everything gets implemented, you don't tend to have to go back to technical stuff. Content audits, all those other audits out there that we do, backlink audits. Yeah, going back to them makes some sense. I love a tool called SiteBulb, which basically it's a crawler. Are you familiar? Oh, it's so good. And like that thing every month can just go and do a lot of that checking for you and report back, hey, some of these things have changed. I don't want to spend too much time doing my audits a second time and a third time. The first time I know you have to, put that manual work into it, got to put human thought into it. SiteBulb gives you so much help there, but you still have to add the human component to it. But, as it goes on, you kind of let the tool do the rest of the work. So that's the way that I really approach it. If it's a client who maybe has a bigger content issue, yeah, maybe you sort of do a few more audits than you normally would. It all depends. It all depends on what the data is telling you need to do.
Right. Talking about content, when you're planning the content on a particular target page, like, one of the main target pages, how do you decide the outline and what elements to include? I mean, is there a proper process you follow?
Yeah, I just look at the SERPs, do the same thing I did 30 years ago. Look at the SERPs, see what's ranking number one, write down all the characteristics of things that are doing well. Like, oh, they seem to all have videos. Just write down what you see and then do your page 10 times better than what you saw. It takes a lot of work, and it's like, well, do I really want to do all this work for one page? Yeah, you do. It's SEO and it takes a lot of work.
Right. And I think that's the key, right? I mean, sometimes, like the client or even like, you think that, okay, fine, for this particular keyword or like this target phrase or service, you need to have a service page explaining your product and service. But when you actually look at the SERPs, you realize that 9 out of the top 10 are actually informative pages. So
Mm-hmm.
which means that if you want to get in the top 5 or 10, you need to create an informative page, to actually get it ranked in the top 10. So you're absolutely right. I think, that's the main key for that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Google, with what they did with Hummingbird and all the things that they have added to their algorithm, semantic search, all sorts of things, all sorts of different search models out there. I mean, Google's gotten smarter.
Yeah.
Google's gotten smarter. It's like, don't underestimate their ability to look at usability, because they do. So it makes a heck of a lot more sense to understand what your competitors are doing and what, traits work for them. So going into the SERPs is still the most important thing to do.
Right. Bill, talking about link building, how have you seen link building change over the years?
Well, link building, right? It's the thing that helped Google stand out from everybody else. Google looked at the links as a big signal. Nobody else was doing that. Then Google got huge because the results were great. Links matter. Google needs to use links. They tried to create an index without links. They didn't like it. They still use links. So the change was, well, everybody started spamming links everywhere. And then Google said, well, we created a little monster. We need to clean this up a little bit. Links still matter so much. Not all links matter the way they used to. Some don't matter at all. And the problem is you don't know, right? I always say this when clients look at like Ahrefs and backlink reports. They're like, look at all these links we have. Like this must be helping us. But those tools don't know when Google has decided to turn off the link value. That's what Penguin 4 does. Penguin 4 sees the things that look like spam to them, and they just turn off the value. So if you actually went out and bought that link and it's really like a bad link, Google could turn off that value and you didn't know. So links matter. Links matter so much, but you just got to get the right links. I always say, get links with traffic. If somebody's going to the website, look at SEMrush or Ahrefs. If somebody's going to that website and the website looks alive and it looks loved, yeah, I want a link from that. If it has a DA of 9, that DA of 9 might turn into a DA of 80 one day. I want a link from that because the site looks loved, it looks active, and it looks like something Google would, be a lot more interested in than some of these other websites that are just built for link spam.
Right. Your go-to tool for finding internal linking opportunities on large websites and any best practices?
Yeah, I use Sitebulb for that too. I love to, like if I'm looking for, let's say I'm trying to boost. We were talking about e-com earlier. Let's use an e-com example. Let's say we have a client who wants to rank better for the word skirt, right? I'm going to scan the entire website with a crawler for the keyword skirts. And I might find some blog posts that mentioned them that never linked to my skirts page. I might find some other pages that, are related in a way. It's a great tool to do. And then you just sit and map it out and go to town creating the redirects that you just mapped out. That's always been the way that I've done it.
Right. Also, do you consider like a limit how many internal links per page?
Not a limit. Just don't make it look spammy. If somebody at Google takes a look at this and says, oh, this was over optimized, this is an SEO doing this, you went too far.
Right.
But it's all part of, it's creating that buzz. Google's looking at internal links to see what is voted on your website is the most important page.
Right.
It's a powerful signal.
Right. How do you work on schemas for large websites, automated versus manual?
Oh, automated. I mean, there's an area where schema really or scaling really can help. One of the great things with these large sites is they're all template driven. So if you need to put schema on, a developer knows how to do it. Okay, I'll take this code, I'll put it in the template. I know how to use variables, and it'll work. Yeah. No, don't manually do schema on enterprise sites. It's just too hard. Do that on like websites that are just built in HTML. You don't see those much anymore. That's when you want to do it manually.
Right. Trying to rank for rich answers has a lot of value. How do you strategize for it?
Strategy for rich answers. I don't know it's so much a strategy for it. I think rich answers is best when it's part of a overall strategy because they're hard to get, right? Yeah. Going back to like talking about how the YouTube algorithm makes no sense. How to get rich snippets doesn't make a ton of sense. But the belief we have is, Google is getting better at learning how to read content. Their comprehension is getting better. I think the website that ranks well already, that has the best comprehension and gives Google the most confidence that what they're going to be putting up is right, is the one that gets the rich snippets. I also believe, and I don't know that a lot of SEOs believe this, but from my tests, I think links actually matter there too, because Google wants to post something from websites that other people are endorsing with their links. So even though people don't talk much about links, I think it's another, you should be trying to attract links to give Google a lot more faith in your content.
Right. What are your thoughts on optimizing for voice search?
Well, it's kind of disappointing. I thought voice search would be a little bit bigger in the SEO's world right now. I don't know if you use one of those assistants, but mine is getting dumber and dumber. I'd like to see that get better. But at some point, I mean, I really do believe that SEO is going to fundamentally change from, hey, we just got to get those little blue links on google.com to we need to be able to get our brand mentioned anytime our assistant, answers a question, because you know how it answers it. Time.com says, that's going to be SEO now. You don't get a click from that. You get branding, you get recognition. Now people know time.com exists. Never would have thought of that as an SEO exercise. I think it's going to become an SEO exercise. It should be now, but as voice grows, I think it becomes, a bigger concentration.
Right. Bill, any special tip or advice that you would like to give our audience that they could use and benefit from?
My favorite is the one about intent. I mean, when you're looking at the SERPs, you did a great job of explaining it. The example I use is, and I changed the name of the client and the keyword, but pretend a client I had came to me and said, we want to rank number one for, CRM. I bet you do. That sounds like a great keyword and a big money maker. But when you go to CRM, you see what are the best CRMs, top 20 best CRMs. This website, let's say it was Salesforce. It wasn't, but let's say Salesforce wanted Salesforce.com on this search result. Yeah, I bet they do. But Google's saying, no, Salesforce.com is not an informational search. That is a brand and maybe more transactional. So, we have to say, no, I'm sorry, you can't get what you want to rank. We can't get what you want. Google won't let you. It just isn't going to happen. So, that's new. We never used to say that in SEO. Everything was up for grabs. But now if you don't have the right page with the right intent, or at least Google doesn't think you have the right intent, you're not going to rank. So again, pay attention to the SERPs, pay attention to, when I say SERPs, for anyone who doesn't know, it's search engine result pages. Pay attention to the SERPs, make sure you understand what the intent of what Google thinks the intent of the page is, and try to make sure that you're in line with the queries.
Right. Well, Bill, I know we are short on time, but before I let you go, we play a quick rapid fire round of 3 to 5 questions in the end. So, ready?
All right, I'm ready.
Describe yourself in 3 words.
Curious, passionate, scatterbrained.
If a movie was made on on you, what genre would it be?
Oh God, is there a genre called boring?
Well, you're not boring.
I hope a comedy, because I would like to see it make people laugh.
Last book you have read?
Oh, this is embarrassing. I really don't remember. I think it was Words at Work by Frank Lutz. But yeah, I'm not a big reader. I'm way into the podcast space. Audible.com, Blinkist. I'm usually listening to audiobooks.
Are you a morning person or a night person?
Oh, wow. Now that I'm an old man, like the last 2 years, I don't know why I get up at 7 a.m., but no, I've always been a night person. 3 a.m. was a bedtime for several decades.
I understand that. I totally understand that.
Do you?
Yep. I mean, to be honest, like after dinner, when the kids go to sleep, that's the time when I'm most active. So I totally understand that.
Yeah, well, it changed for me. Now mornings are my time where I'm most alert.
Yeah.
At 6 p.m., I'm like, I wonder what time I'm going to go to bed tonight. Is 7 too early? Just stay young. That's my best advice.
Last one. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
I love LA. I love Santa Monica. I'd probably live out there.
Okay.
Hang out with all the famous people and all the crazy people. Just like me. Not famous, but crazy.
Well, Bill, thank you so much for your time. It was fun having you, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks. I hope I was helpful. I hope, if anybody wants to, one of the things that I think is really great about our industry is even though we're competitors, we're also all in this together. Yeah. And, the industry is remarkable. You can reach out on Twitter to anybody and they're going to help you. So I stand by that rule. If anybody ever has any SEO question or needs anything answered, you can find me on LinkedIn, Bill Sebald. You can find me on Twitter, Bill Sebald. I'm more than happy to answer anybody's questions, and I'd be honored to do it. So please reach out if anybody needs me.
Well, thank you so much, Bill.
All right. Thank you.